Welcome to episode 3 of Unapologetic. I'm Will Poznan. I'm joined by Las Vegas Aces center Kiah Stokes.
Hey.
And Orlando Magic guard Myke Mulder.
What's up, y'all?
And we're gonna get right to it. So Myke finally watched Squid Game, cultural phenomenon, and we're gonna jump right into it. Myke, what were your thoughts on Squid Game?
I mean, I didn't think it was a cultural phenomenon personally. I'm sorry, you guys. I was disappointed, honestly, and I like powered through it. I was like, hey, I'm gonna grind through it for a few days or whatever. And I don't know. I kept waiting for it to get better and better. Everyone told me it got great, but I really just enjoyed the games. Like it wasn't that deep, and it was super hard to watch to me. Like with the voiceover and the interactions were kind of weird. I don't know. You guys, everybody seemed to love that show, but I feel like everybody loved it because everybody loved it. I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't go with the crowd with this one.
I appreciate that. I think that the acting is very Korean, so it's not what we're used to. And in terms of, I just think, it's a different culture. So sometimes they make choices that I feel like an American wouldn't make in that situation. But at the same time, you didn't think that your favorite part of it was the games?
For sure, my favorite part was the games because it was the most entertaining. I could understand that there's messages to the show, but did I think it was as deep as everybody was portraying it? Not personally. It didn't scream too seriously to me.
So Kiah, you liked it. What was the moment where you were on board with Squid Game?
What? As soon as they started killing them in the first game.
You were a red light, green light. I'm not a red light, green light. My favorite part was when they have the night after lights out where they all turn on each other, because that to me was such a human, I didn't expect it to go that way. Once they started competing and killing each other, I was like, oh, this is jumping up another level. To me, them playing the games, life or death, that was like a horror movie. But once it became a psychological thriller, my favorite part, actually, the whole thing is when they're with the doctor and he's doing the illegal surgeries and they're telling him shit's about to go crazy, and then it goes crazy. So that's when I got converted.
But I don't know. I'm really into Saw movies, all kind of stuff like that. So I feel like them playing the games was I'm with Myke. That was my favorite part of the movie. I feel like a lot of it got, because we don't speak Korean and we had to watch with the voiceovers. I was watching a bunch of TikToks and they're saying that the way that they translated it doesn't necessarily make sense. We missed a key, a bunch of subtle little keys and clues that would have made it, I think, tied it all together more, which I can definitely tell. But I still really liked it. And I'm still mad at him for not getting on the plane. But then one of my best friends from home was saying that they think that the people from Squid Games, because you never hear about anyone else who had won previous, because apparently they've been doing this for how long? They think that maybe it was a setup. Yeah, maybe it was a setup, the plane was gonna die, or not die, the plane was gonna blow up, and then he was gonna die, but then he got off the plane. So I'm like, if that's the case, that would be a little more interesting. But I don't know if that's actually the case. I'm gonna wait for the next season if they have one.
My theory is he's gonna go into the new Squid Game and try to get everybody to cooperate and be civilized. That's my theory. I'm curious to see.
There's no way.
He'll tell them the games
to leave. They had a chance to leave, and then when they realized shit ain't sweet on the outside, they all went right back in. There's no way he's gonna convince them. He can say, "I've been through this, I won," and then they're just gonna probably try to kill him first. They're like, "Oh, he already knows the games. Kill him first," and then it's gonna be the repeated cycle.
No, that was a turning moment for sure when everybody went back. I enjoyed the basis of the show. I enjoyed the show in a way, but I struggled to watch it. I know it was in Korean, so maybe it was the subtle nuances and stuff like that. You're missing that. You're missing sarcasm. You're missing certain things. But it was it was painful for me to watch the episodes where it's all painful, all interactions. I'm like, oh my God, please start the game one. I think it was the second episode. I'd already struggled through the first one, and I was like, all right, I gotta let me keep going. Second episode, there was no game, and I was devastated. It's coming up on 3/4 through the episode. I'm like, there's not even time for a game. This is this is rough. But no, I did like the turning points, like when they went back, and when Lights Out happened and people started turning on each other. Because like I don't know if I expected it to go so dark so quick, but I think some characters just quickly like adapted more than others. Like the main character didn't seem to ever like hit that peak where he was like, yeah, like I'll kill you for it. So like that was an interesting part. Yeah, he was the most moral one. But then the whole show, you kind of know who's gonna win, right? Like there's no, he was the clear victor. Like, sorry,
but
if
you
you're
know
watching
what's
this,
crazy? They should have made him. They should have made him die because he was doing everything right. In real life, I feel like it don't work like that.
He would have never
I
made
know
it.
that's really messed up to say, but like,
oh, for sure.
Sometimes you gotta do a little sneaky stuff.
If there had been a Michael Jordan in that Squid Game, I mean, there's no way the protagonist makes it through. But that I didn't think that it was going to be just one winner. When I was watching Squid Game, all right, baby, you gotta go. We're gonna have to edit this out, baby. Hey, Sheena. Hey, Sheena. Okay, so if there had been like, I didn't think there was going to be just one winner. Did you guys think going in that only one of them was going to survive the Squid Game? Because I thought that North Korean girl was surviving too.
Nah, once his friend killed the guy that helped him, I was like, oh yeah, everybody about to die. Because he was so nice. I forgot the names, but like, I think, was he like Pakistani? I want to say that, but I don't know.
And that was for me, when you talk about the differences in acting and stuff, like American actors, especially Hollywood actors, lean on charisma very heavy. And I thought it was really interesting. Like most American people, their favorite characters are Ali and then the bully gangster guy who's Filipino. So it's the only two non-Korean characters,
right?
Like everybody, but that's because they're probably the most charismatic. Whereas, Korean actors, they kind of like are understated, and like people are getting killed and you have Korean actors looking around like this is improper.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. Once my man Ali died, I was like, oh yeah, everybody about to get it. Because I feel like he was so likable. And then just to off him like that, first of all, the friend was an asshole but why wouldn't you check the marbles? Like,
he's walking around with rocks on his thing.
And you didn't think to check it, you just felt the weight like, nah, this is for my life. Nah. But
did everybody have do we have a clear least favorite in the show? Because this has got to be unanimous here. Come on.
Oh, okay. So I think I'm going to agree with what you guys are going to say. So let's hear what you guys say, and then I'm going to talk about watching 3 YouTube theory videos and changing my mind about this character. So who's your least favorite?
Myke, go ahead. You go.
Just the toughest to watch in the whole show was the girl that constantly she kept surviving. She was super annoying.
I hate her.
My
the
God.
The one who was having sex with the gangster?
Yes. Oh my God.
I love that character.
You don't want to be my teammate, huh? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I was struggling with that. And then when no one wanted to be your teammate, I was like relieved. I was like, hey, she's gone. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's not going to get to play the game. Then they came back and she was in the room. I was like, oh my God, not another episode.
She was supposed to go. When she didn't get a partner, she was supposed to go. Like, she's not supposed to make it through. She sucks. And then she had sex with a guy and just thought that they were supposed to be together forever. I'm like, yo, you're a one night. Like, chill.
Yeah, in the Squid Game, she's getting played. That is crazy.
Man. I thought you guys were going to say a different character. I thought you guys were going to say the businessman, like the successful, friend from the beginning who is he's like, spoiler alert, second to last guy. The one who betrayed Ali.
He definitely sucks too, but like I expected that behavior out of him, kind of like, I don't know, like him
he's
doing
a
stuff.
Well put together guy.
I was like, he was making like business decisions. Like he wasn't thinking about it emotionally at all. Which was the only problem that the guy who won had really was he was like kind of emotional about it. Somehow he survived, but like he was always like, yeah, I'll take the old guy. Yeah, like this and that. It's like if you're fighting for your life, like you're probably not taking the old guy, but
the old guy, my friend, but sorry, dude.
Like we're not friends for the next 10 minutes. Whatever happens. Like he was old, like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry.
But that ended up being why he survived, right? Because that old guy was the puppeteer.
Yes, for sure. But
we're gonna have to put spoilers.
Doesn't seem fair either. Yeah, we got to put a spoiler on this. But that doesn't really seem fair either. I don't know. She was a clear least favorite for me. But then she ended up coming in clutch, so it was like, she like redeemed herself in her last 30 seconds of the show, like perfect.
Barely.
Barely? Oh, I love it.
I don't like her. No.
Okay, so here's I thought I was gonna have to defend the you know, the business school guy, but I'll defend her real quick. So one thing I saw in YouTube videos is that character is one who kind of got misconstrued by the subtitles more than any other. Like they were saying that character is supposed to be like a cat lady, like a old, you know, like an older lady who lives by herself, who's just, her goal is survival. Like out the gate, she's desperate to survive. And she's just like, she's supposed to be kind of like flailing and just trying her hardest. I don't know. That's what I saw in the
No,
YouTube
she
videos.
sucks.
So yeah, if that's who she was supposed to be, like that's not who I didn't picture her like that. I thought she was just, she was kind of grimy. She would have done anything to survive, but
she
she
comes
wasn't
across
likable
like
like the business kid, like, you know what I mean?
So you like the business kid guy. I didn't like him at all.
I wouldn't say I liked him, but he was more likable to her.
When I watched a YouTube video about like his rationale and stuff and his philosophy on the Squid Game from the beginning, I was like, okay, I can see why this guy feels that. And I didn't understand that when he kills himself at the end, it was specifically to help his mom until like after I'd finished the show. But my least favorite character is probably the frontman guy. I just thought like he was so clearly like emo under that mask, and it just frustrated me because I was like, but you're in charge. You don't get to be emo. Like, I don't know. That bugged me every time I saw it. It's like if Jeff Bezos is trying to be emo and shit.
I mean, I guess I never really thought of him. Like, yeah, he was a character, but like, I didn't think of him. They run in the games.
Yeah, like for some reason, the people I like didn't have too much of a thought on, or like I didn't like dislike them one way or the other, were the people running the games, and it's like they're probably who I should dislike, and that's who like the main character disliked and all that. But it's like to me, I was just focused on the people playing the game the most because that's who like we watched every episode, and some of them bothered me.
Yeah. Okay. So who are your top 3 that bothered you?
Okay. Obviously, girl who was apparently misconstrued as Catwoman. And then right from the jump, the friend business guy dude, he was kind of like, you could tell he was going to be slimy about it. And every chance he got, he took it. So he was rough to me. I don't know. There wasn't really a third one that I strongly disliked. But I definitely felt like it was a letdown with the main character when he started like scamming the old man in the game, what he thought he was. That was like a moment where I was like, man, we went from like really liking him and like wanting him to succeed to now I'm like, he's kind of like everyone else, right? Like he'll do whatever it takes to win the game. And it's understandable, but it gave him a human, it was a human effect. Like, you know what I mean? All of a sudden it's like, oh, he's flawed too. Like, I don't really like him as much either anymore.
Yeah. I mean, my biggest problem with that character is just that he is so like, he's dealing with everything internally. Like, it's just, I guess cultural elements of it where it's like, you don't see some of the emotion like in the way that it would be on the surface for an American character. But, and also I thought like he was kind of like too, like, he was too happy the whole time. Like that character of all the characters, like he's the one whose life is the most, like he's the only character of who has a kid and he's not, he's not like in his kid's life as much as he want to be. And his mom is just like, he kind of was too like happy for me. So
when he said I'll buy you a good gift next year, I was like, oh man, yeah, this is not the dude. This is not the dude. I'm gonna buy you another one next year. Don't worry about it. Plenty more birthdays.
Like I'm good, bro. Don't even worry about it.
And then he's in the game. He wasn't really worried. Like other people were worried about everything, and he was like the least concerned. He's like, oh man, shoot. I guess I'll just choose last. Like it's like no.
Yeah. No, that was a really interesting aspect to it, that the guy who ends up winning it was the one who was the least concerned with winning it. And the one video I saw that was interesting compared him to the guy who came in second. And it was just talking about how the guy who won it, he was able to win it because he wasn't burdened by like, he kind of had a cushy life. So he didn't even, it wasn't in his mind that people would betray other people because he was kind of privileged. Like he was raised in a cushy environment. Whereas, my favorite character is probably the North Korean girl. And she was very aware out the gate, oh, motherfuckers are going to kill each other over some money.
Yeah.
For sure. I think she was the coldest.
So are both of you going to watch season 2? I mean, I'll say I'm definitely watching season 2.
Well, it's like a bad car wreck to me now. Like now I have to watch it.
Yeah, you're invested.
Yeah.
I think I thought the first 2 episodes were not my favorite. I thought it got better, like way better to me, episode 3. So maybe second season, no exposition. I mean, I think it's a great show. Like, I think it's the show of 2021, but we'll see. Maybe it gets better or maybe it falls off.
Of 2021. Oh my God.
What would you put
Popularity-wise?
You talk about the best show of the year? I don't know.
You don't think so?
Ooh. Name 2 other shows that came out this year. I bet they're both better. I like the Kaepernick series more than that by a lot.
Oh, I watched the first 2 episodes of that. Have you watched that, Kiah?
What?
The Kaepernick show?
No, I haven't watched anything. I feel like I've been so busy. So I feel like
you've been in 3 countries playing for 2 teams, so I hear you on that.
For real.
Kaepernick show's interesting. It's Ava DuVernay, and so far in it, for me, he's still like a 14-year-old kid.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting.
Download it for the flight. I got on Wednesday. I'm gonna download it. We go to Slovenia.
Oh, it's good. You'll love it. It's not like even about the NFL stuff. It's about his like upbringing and stuff like that.
Oh, that's good.
Like it doesn't even ever really touch on the NFL very much, honestly. So, it's pretty good. It's better than Squid Games by a lot to me. But it's also shorter, and it's it's an emotional, more emotional than Squid Games. Obviously, that's more about entertainment thing. But no, I thought it was good. But Squid Games, no, it might be. I guess it's top 3 because of how popular it is. But to me, I don't know.
Well, I mean, you guys haven't watched the new season of Insecure yet. I've been very impressed by the first 2 episodes, and then like Rick and Morty, every season of it, I put way up there. I just think Squid Game was interesting how much it caught on globally, because to me, that's like, oh, every country around the world, there's debt crises.
It's huge. It's huge everywhere. I downloaded a video game, Crab Game, and it's straight Squid Game. They're gonna get sued.
You're not into Squid Game, but you'll play knockoff Squid Game.
It's fun. It's playing knockoff Squid Game. Yeah, it's fun that way.
What are you playing, like blue light, purple light?
No, they're real red light, green light.
Oh, they just went straight up red light, green light?
Oh, yeah, they straight copied it.
All right, so let's I guess quickly talk about what it feels like the biggest story of the week. But on the other side, there's not that much to say about it. We can talk about the tragedy that happened at Astroworld Fest. Did you guys? I imagine you've seen all the stuff about it. If people don't know, somehow 8 people died and 100 people were injured at an overcrowded concert in Houston featuring Travis Scott. There's a lot of it's on the news all the time, which I understand because it's a really big story. But at the same time, do you have anything? Either of you have anything that you want to say about it?
I mean, the only thing I can say is like my condolences to the families. It's just really unfortunate. I know it's a touchy subject because obviously people died, but I just feel like the whole Astroworld Festival tried to just take shortcuts and it bit them in the ass. And now look at the result, and it just kind of sucks because they're trying to say, how is he supposed to hear when it's so loud? But also, why is there 50,000 people and we're still in a pandemic? Like, coronavirus is still real. Like, whether you believe it or don't, like, it's still out there. So there shouldn't be that large of gatherings. I don't know. It just seemed like the whole thing just seems like a mess. It's just really sad. Like, it's a really sad and unfortunate situation.
Yeah, that was rough. Obviously loved anyone involved, or affected, but like you said, I feel like it was just a recipe for disaster kind of from the start. Like when you got 50,000 people, the demographic of these people are what, like it's probably averagely between 16 and 24, like, you know what I mean? Young people. And it was understaffed as it was. Like I said, I think it was just a recipe for disaster. When things started going south, there was not enough people or personnel to deal with that type of situation. So I think things just got out of hand quick. Mix that with obviously like the glorifying of like the rage culture. You see more injuries and stuff like that in an incident like that. than you saw with you see with mosh pits most of the time. I don't know if that was generally because the age group is older or what it is. But yeah, it was really unfortunate seeing the way that went down. Obviously, everybody went there to have fun, and things went south real quick. So that was terrible. I know we're obviously waiting to hear more news on what exactly happened. There's a lot of stories I'm hearing. People obviously there's like huge surges of people stampeding, trampling people, and the drug use at festivals is like no secret. I don't think Astroworld is alone in that regard, right? Like when you go to any festival, there's a ton of drug use. But you're also hearing stories about people getting pricked in the crowd. So I don't really know exactly all the facts yet. Nobody really does. They're still investigating, but whatever happened, I think there needs to be obviously more personnel at situations like that to make sure that doesn't happen anymore. But hopefully they can figure out and go from there,
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with all that. I think that as a performer, like the two things that jumped out at me were, I just think that it's very tricky when I'm all for artist ownership. Like that's a huge thing for me. When a musical artist runs the festival and then is expected to run it while performing on stage, I think that's a recipe for disaster. I think like that's a thing that has to be navigated very carefully, because this idea to me that Travis Scott should have altered his performance because of what was happening in the crowd. I don't think people are looking at it like that's not what a performer's job is. Once you're on stage, your job is to perform really hard. When the artist is in charge of the festival, he needs to have especially competent people managing the festival. I saw the video too of people, like thousands of people breaking over a wall to sneak in. I heard the stories of people pricking people with like a mystery serum in the crowd that was making people hallucinate and stuff. The one thing I really didn't like is some people try to say like that Travis Scott's punk ethic to his performance is like responsible for this. And I think that's messy when you start going like, oh, you can only perform with these certain energies. I didn't like that. But I think that for me, the big change is going to have to be that when an artist, when the person on stage is the person that runs the whole festival, they're not an independent contractor, it's their thing. There's just going to have to be a lot of diligence to make sure you have competent people at all around the festival, because you can't, asking a Travis Scott to manage the festival from the stage would be like asking LeBron to manage a fight in the crowd at a basketball game during the Laker game. It's just impossible. Like he's doing a different job at the time.
No, I agree. I think a lot of blame is fallen on him too, which is unfortunate. But like you said, like he was running it, so obviously he's going to catch the brunt of that blame. But I agree with you. I don't think once he's on stage, I think there should be enough people there to deal with any situation. Like it shouldn't be up to him at that point.
So do you think that he noticed something when he was on the stage?
I do think that.
I think he did, but I think he reacted late. I don't think people think about it like performers. Like if you're just a person in the audience, you see some shit and it snaps you out of the performance. But if you're a performer, you're thinking, what's my next song going to be? Am I being big enough? Am I being cartoonishly too big? Like, I just don't think people understand what it's like to be on stage if they're not on stage. And I think it's way unrealistic to ask anybody to manage like a festival while they're on stage, like to even pivot like that. Like most people just aren't going to pivot on a dime like that.
Yeah.
I mean, so if he started seeing stuff go wrong, should he have stopped it to like make sure people were good? Or is that like, it's just too much? Like there's 50,000 people there.
I think
like,
that,
so I feel like it's a tough line to draw, because clearly like people's safety should be priority. But because I saw a video of someone else saying like, oh, this person stopped the show because one person felt like super dehydrated, but this one show was in a smaller venue. There's maybe like 100, 200 people. So it'd be easier to notice that. But when you have 50,000, like, I don't know. Obviously, I've never performed in front of 50,000 people. Well, like on a stage, like I'm not a singer, whatever. Yeah. But like, I don't know. I just feel like it's a tough decision. And I think like at the time, he probably didn't think anyone was dying.
Well, when you were in the when you were in the NCAA finals, did you even notice the crowd? Like, did you think about the crowd for a moment? So here's what I think. I think that if the artist is in charge of the festival, then they should skew for more security. Like Coachella, they've been doing that for years. They kind of know what they're doing. I also think, like what you said, it's a pandemic. We should be skewing for less people in the audience and more precautions. But that being said, thousands of people snuck in. So even if you have less people, like now you have to deal with more people wanting to sneak in. I think in general, if the person in charge of the thing is on stage, they need to hire more people than they otherwise would to make sure people are safe. I think artists got to also be trained to leave a little bit of money on the table so everybody has a better experience, because people got to remember that in the artist's ear is an agent, a manager, touring people that are literally like, how can we make this as profitable as possible? Like these people push back on Kanye for having pyrotechnics and shit at his live show because they're like, you're blowing all the money we're getting at the door. Like we need to stop thinking like that in terms of festivals. Like they're more than just a money grab.
For sure.
But I mean, at that, like I said, something that big, you need more crowd control. You got to have more people ready. Like that's at the fault of the whole festival.
It should never be that
like,
big.
You gotta get some stuff to shut it down. Like there's no way you should be able to have 50,000 people and then run out of resources. Like you got to be more prepared. I don't care if 5,000 people snuck in. You still have 45,000 people there. That's still so many.
Yeah.
Like there has to be some more responsibility.
I agree with you. I think during a pandemic, we don't need anything that big. Like if you've ever been at a festival with 10,000 people, you're never like, we need 40,000 more people. Like 10,000 people is a lot of people to party with.
Yeah, you're just like, we need more water bottles and stuff like that. Like, no, I do think everyone's saying like whether or not he's watching it and staring at it and this and that. Like I do think he saw things going on. You could see ambulance lights in the crowd. Do I think it shocked him? Like, or he thought like recognized the magnitude of it? No, like of course I don't think he was like, people are dying here. I think like you said, his job and he was focused on that, like dealing with the show. But you know, like I think at Astroworld or any like thing like that's that big, 45, 50,000 people, you're not shocked when you see like an ambulance or something like that come up. Like somebody gets hurt at these things every time. So it's like, yes, I think he was on the stage, and yes, I think he saw the ambulance lights. Do I think he knew like the magnitude of it? No, of course not. And I think if he did, he would have said something or stopped the show until everything was like settled again. But yeah, that kind of sucked. There was a lot of video sharing of, you know, like Linkin Park or Foo Fighters, and it was artist after artist after artist stopping the show, making sure somebody who got knocked down was okay or got pulled out of the crowd or whatever. But like you said, Kiah, they were in venues, like smaller venues. Like you could see the way when you get 45, 50,000 people in one area, like people are moving like fluid, like they look like water from above. And it's like, you can see how you get lost in that. And like, you wouldn't recognize, like if 8 people or 100 people out of these 40,000 people are being injured, like, I'm not sure if you're going to recognize that as the performer until it's over. Like, I'm not sure.
And maybe there's a conversation about if you have a really hardcore style of performance like Travis does, maybe you do need 2 sections, like the way you have smoking and non-smoking. Maybe you do need like a wild section and a chill section, because, you know, the most tragic shit of that is like people took their kids to that show. And I mean, you know, maybe we need to rethink like the festival dynamics and all that stuff. I also think that there's a problem with like fame factoring into accountability. Like I felt this way about Ellen's show. Like Ellen DeGeneres, her show got called out for having a toxic environment. And we only learned the name of Ellen. We don't even know the names of the producers who were right under her, who were sexually harassing people.
Absolutely.
We need to know the names of the people who were in charge of, like, we should know more names than just Travis Scott. Like, if you want to put some blame on him, cool. If you want to put a little bit of blame on Drake, cool. I don't even understand it, really. I guess he helped produce the festival, but like, we need to know the names of the people, or at least the companies who were who were hired for security and shit.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
Are we blaming Drake? Was he even there?
He came on stage they did like knife talk. But honestly, I was disappointed because like from the clip that I seen, he wasn't even doing nothing, just jumping around. I was like, Drake, come on. I expect more from you. I know it's a festival and everybody hype, but like he would hold the mic to the crowd at like not even a hard bar. So I'm like, you got the crowd singing the whack shit. Like, why are you?
Yeah, he's supposed to be a hell of a performer. Like he can't be doing that.
Yeah.
But I did hear Travis Scott concerts are like wild, like beyond wild. And I've been to a lot of concerts, so like I said, I just feel like there was just too much, like a too good of a recipe for something bad to happen at that situation for sure.
And that's tricky for me. Like I'm a big fan of punk rock, and I think that I know Travis is too. I mean, he co-wrote Yeezus, which to me is like the best punk album of the last, since punk rock was actually a thing. You don't like Yeezus, Kiah? Man, I'm not going to defend Donda, but I'll defend Yeezus for the rest of the podcast. You don't like Yeezus?
It's okay.
It's just okay?
It's okay. Yeah, it's just okay.
I don't got it on my phone, whatever that says.
Well, it's going to be you're going to be taking your kids to museums where Yeezus is on the wall. Like, I think that is you don't think so? I think stuff like, whether it's like Blood on the Leaves or Black Skinhead, like I think those songs are going to be in our lives, in movies for decades.
They're going to be in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
I don't think they're going to be in mine. I don't
know. I think you'll put on like some Christopher Nolan movie or whatever, and they'll be using stuff. Okay, well, maybe that's why I'm not giving anybody any extra leash because they co-wrote Yeezus, but I mean, that is definitely a point.
Send him the check.
I think he got compensated for it. I know that like everything I know about that is from Amber Rose talking about how Travis Scott wrote that album. But yeah,
that's what you know.
That's my source. Look,
that's your credible
anytime
source. Okay.
If somebody puts a tattoo on their face, I just don't think that they're a liar anymore. I think they can be wrong about stuff.
that is facts.
I trust people who have tattoos on their face. I'm like, you're gonna lie about why you're late and you got Kobe Bryant tattooed on your face. I trust people with tattoos on their face. You don't?
You had me for a little bit, but I think you kind of lost me.
Yeah. Like, what do you have to lie about? Like, okay, so did you trust Chris Brown more or less after he got the Jordan 1 tattooed on his face?
Oh my God, less.
Oh, I
feel like I trust Chris Brown less and less every year. I'm sorry, I love Chris Brown's music, but
yeah, I don't know. I just feel like if you're gonna get tattoos on your face, you just don't care. So yeah, you could be more honest.
Yeah,
you could, or you could just not care about anything and literally just do whatever you want, say whatever you want, because like, F it. I got a tattoo on my face, now what? Like, I don't
So
know.
Kiah, do you trust Megan Thee Stallion more now that she's a college graduate?
I mean, sure.
Yeah. Did that mean anything to you as a Megan Thee Stallion fan?
No, like congrats to her. I think it's great when anybody like has a goal, they decide to do it. That's great. I'm all for, bettering yourself. But like her graduating college has nothing to do with me. Like literally nothing. So congrats though. I'm really happy.
Myke,
I do think it's dope. I do think it's dope when people who are successful already without college degrees go get college degrees. I do think that's dope. But no, I wouldn't give her no more like credibility. Like I wouldn't say before, I don't trust her because she doesn't have a college degree. Like,
right.
So I don't think it gives her more credibility.
Telling me to go shake my ass.
Yeah, like I don't think it gives her more credibility.
Let me see your.
Yeah, like I'd have to hear it from her personally and see how much I trusted her.
See, I didn't like it. I'll be honest, I didn't like it.
Didn't like it? How you gonna not like her getting a degree?
I don't like
what is there not to like?
This might be a stupid thing, but I don't like when people that make millions of dollars, then they go get a college degree. Like, I feel like it validates all the entrepreneurial shit they did that their degree didn't help with. Like, I just think that people should understand that if they have a career in mind, like if they have a thing they very specifically want to do and college doesn't help them with that, then they shouldn't give a school $30,000 a year. So I just don't like it. I wish she had been one credit away and been like, I could have this degree, but it means that little. I don't know. That's just
if you're one credit away, you already gave him the 30 racks.
That's what I'm saying.
True.
You wasted all that time, not wasted, but like you spent all that time.
That's a
one credit.
good stance, I guess. That's a funny stance. I hadn't even thought about it like that. I guess.
Will, you're crazy.
Okay, I like it. I like it more when someone can reach that level of success without a college degree. That's more impressive to me than them going after being successful and buying a college degree. Like I will say that, but like I don't know, like who knows? I don't know anything about her family or nothing, but in some cases it's like, oh, I might just be the first guy to graduate college in my family, but I got a Division I scholarship and went to the league in 2 years and I didn't graduate, but I went back because my mom said I'm the first one in my family.
I like that. If she's the first in her family, I like it. And even as I just said what I said, then I thought, oh, that's what Mark Zuckerberg did, and that guy sucks. But I think that I'm fine with Megan going to college and stuff, and I thought the photo op was cool, and it was cool that she was in the news for it. But sometimes I don't like the way that it gets framed by the media, like she's saying you should go to college, and it's not really that. It's more like she's doing a thing. I liked when Lil Wayne went to college and then dropped out because he's like, yeah, I just realized I was the smartest person in the world, so I thought I don't need to go to college anymore.
I mean, that is entertaining, but
yeah,
I mean, she, like I said, she wanted to, she did it. Good for her.
Yeah, fair enough. The next thing I got on here, we talked. I mean, do you see the Jeff Bezos girlfriend thing about how his girlfriend was checking out Leonardo DiCaprio?
Ready to risk it all.
I mean, yeah, of course, but like, what is she risk? She's risking money, but like,
what is she risking?
I don't know.
She's like the richest dude in the world. What you mean? Is she fangirling over? Well, who is it?
Leonardo DiCaprio. His name is. I think Jeff Bezos. I really, when I see him, even for 10 seconds, I'm like, that guy seems insufferable. If he wasn't the richest dude in the world, I think he's pretty lonely. Like, I looked at Jeff Bezos and his girlfriend as a couple, and I was like, I think that if he lost everything except for $500 million, she would dump him. Because that's how rich he has to be just to have a girlfriend. He seems that insufferable to me.
So you telling me the girl just with it for the money?
I think that his personality, you need billions of dollars to balance that out.
Yeah, I could see that, but I will say, like, this is not weird. No matter who I'm in the room with, I don't care if it was my girlfriend, my wife, whatever. If Leonardo walked in the room, like, I'm looking at Leonardo, like, I'm sorry, like, so I don't blame her. Leonardo is dope. He in some of the best movies of all time.
What's your favorite movie of his? What would be the first movie? For me,
I watched The Departed like every 6 months.
Oh, that's my least. Man, you didn't like Squid Games and you loved The Departed. I hate The Departed.
How could you hate that?
Because I think that it's too many characters and the main characters aren't good enough. Like the fringe characters, I like Mark Wahlberg in it. I like Martin Sheen in it. But I just thought like Leo and Matt Damon are way better in other stuff than in that movie. Yeah. And also like my favorite Scorsese movies are the really slow, quiet ones like Taxi Driver and shit like that. So I don't love, like, I like Goodfellas a lot, but his like fast-paced supercharged movies are not my favorite. I like Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. Wolf of Wall Street is probably my favorite recent Martin Scorsese movie. And probably my second favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie. What about you,
Inception.
I like
Inception
that.
Is cool.
I watch Inception often too. Like when I'm going to sleep, for some reason, I'm always like Inception.
Probably because you probably have some weird dreams, huh?
Catch Me If You Can. Any love for Catch Me If You Can? That's my favorite.
Catch Me If You Can is definitely fire. And what else? Shutter Island is fire.
Oh yeah, Shutter Island. That's up there.
Can't forget that.
I'm so mad he was crazy. I really was rooting for him.
You know what? One of my favorite ones, Will, I'm sorry. It's got to be Gangs of New York. It's got to be Gangs of New York. Yeah.
You want to hear my metaphor for Gangs of New York? You remember that LeBron Cavs team that lost to the Spurs in 4? That's Gangs of New York with Daniel Day-Lewis as LeBron. Everyone else stinks in that movie, but he's so good that he makes it a good movie by himself. Yeah,
he is so fire.
Cameron Diaz stinks. Wait, is it Matt Damon or Leo? Who's the other one? Yeah, Matt Damon's not in Gangs of New York. So it's Leo, Cameron Diaz. They're both bad. There's like one other guy who's bad, and then Daniel Day-Lewis is unbelievably good. So it's a good movie.
He definitely held it up.
Like that movie without Daniel Day-Lewis, it isn't a playoff team. That movie's
no chance. You're not making the playoffs without Bill the Butcher. Like no chance.
All-time great character. Kind of a little bit low-key wasted on that movie because, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is always great, but there's other times where he's that good in the movie around. Like There Will Be Blood to me is a movie where the whole movie's at his level.
Yes.
Gangs in New York, I'm always like, man, Cameron Diaz. If this was like Margot Robbie, this is just a better movie.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
This is a mean day for me. You know, I'm just coming from taking my kid
you're a hard
to the
critic,
dentist.
though. Like, yeah, like if it's not Yeezus, it's not going for you. Like,
well, you did open this up by saying 900 million people were wrong about Squid Game, so
they were wrong. I'm sorry, like the group. I'm sorry, they were wrong.
Do you guys care at all about the Pete Davidson Kim Kardashian thing? Is that entertaining to you at all?
No, I try not to pay attention. None of the Kardashian news. Like everyone's always bashing, whoever they end up with. But Pete Davidson has proved time and time again, you got to be a cool dude. Like he don't miss.
He's probably
really,
so cool.
Yeah, everybody says he's real cool, fun to hang out with. Like clearly. So that's all I really got on that one. Like I think it's been big news though. I've seen a lot of it.
I've heard that too. I mean, I have friends that tour with him and stuff. Nico White's probably my closest friend who's closest with Pete. They started together and they've been friends for like 10 years. I've heard great things about him in that respect. I would not want to date really for real, date a person that's older than me with kids. I just think like I wouldn't be able to, especially as a guy and the kid's dad is that much older than me. I don't want that.
And the kid's dad is Kanye? Yeah.
Actually makes it better for me. That makes it easier.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would make it doable.
Because you probably gonna meet him, so you would be happy.
I mean, he would be mad that I was saying that Travis Scott wrote Yeezus, but I think he would like a lot of the other stuff I said about him. But when I drop my kids off at daycare and stuff, and the older dads want to talk, I can't talk to. If you got a 2-year-old and you're 45, like. You're not the same as me with my 2-year-old at 31. Like we're not gonna vibe.
No.
Now I'm sounding like I'm bigoted against older dads. I'll say it, and I want to mitigate my. But like, if you have an older dad, older kid, I'm cool with it. But older dads with little kids, I don't vibe with, and I'm not gonna try to. And that's why I wouldn't date Kim Kardashian because I don't want to deal with an older dad like having to interact with me like. Because when he comes to me,
why you want to date him? I can think of a million reasons why I wouldn't want to date him.
That's the main one. I don't have a problem with any of the other ones. None of the other reasons bother me at all. But when he's like, when Kanye comes to me and he's like, look, you told my kid they couldn't have ice cream because they were misbehaving. I don't even want to be like, no, Kim did like that drama. I don't want to be involved with any. That's the shit where I'd be like, I don't want to deal with some.
That's
older
where you
dad.
draw the line.
I would never date.
That is where you draw the line.
Wow. I would prefer if I'm dating an older woman with kids, I don't want and she's got an older husband. If she's got a husband or ex-husband my age, that's cool. I don't want the husband to be in her life. If he's going to be older and try to talk to me like I have some responsibility to his kids, like I got to go be a dad in his image. Now, that's the part of it where I was like, there's no way this can work is because Pete can't is Pete going to be a stepdad to Kanye's kid? Like, that's why I go, yeah, I would never sign up for that. So I don't think
we're going way too far right now. Pete has not signed up for that either.
That's true. They held hands on a Ferris wheel.
He was just trying to go on get some dinner and all that. Like, let Pete do his thing right now. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing about this is I think that this is a little bit manufactured. Like, I think that when billionaires divorce, I think they have an exit strategy because they are protecting that brand, like their mutual brands.
Absolutely.
And I think that this beautifully protects their brands. Like Kim's dating Pete, Kanye's dating a 20-year-old model. I think Kanye's fan base is going to just view as above. I think Kanye's fan base in general unfairly labels Kim as like a Yoko figure when I feel like she, for all of her faults, has kind of done right by Kanye at every step. But yeah, I think that both of them this is probably the best divorce I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen two people need to watch this part of this. Like when people, the next celebrity that gets divorced, they should just rip the Kanye Kim model.
Just call them up, ask them how they got this done. They're smoothly transitioning away from each other with like no flaws. Like it's all good. Water, no ripples in the water, like no waves. But
do we
it's
know
probably
that though?
as far as what we could tell. But like I said, they're like
But that's the point.
when you say this is the best divorce you've ever seen, it's like I haven't seen many people get divorced with that much money. Like, I bet they're both just kind of like, they could make it a lot easier for themselves, and the money is not so much of a.
Jeff Bezos'
that
first
one.
wife got a divorce, and she seems pretty happy.
She's doing
I would
great.
be too.
She has $1 billion and no Jeff Bezos. I'd sign up for that too.
Yeah, she became the richest woman on earth like that. Like
she got multiple billions. I need some of that. I need to be her friend. We can go to brunch.
I'd rather be her friend than his friend.
Come on, friend. Let's go to brunch.
No, but it seems smooth from what I can tell, and their exit strategy seems solid.
I love it.
I give them that.
I think that both of them are with their in-between part. Like, I think that both of them are going to probably start dating for real in a few years. I think this is the I don't want to date anybody else phase. I just had a marriage fall apart phase. I think that is sensible. Yeah. So that's all I had on Kim Kardashian and Pete Davidson, is just emphatically not wanting to co-parent with a boomer dad. That's how I feel.
Yeah, no, that's a big point. That's important. I hadn't even factored that in for Pete. Like, I don't know if he's factored in either.
If I was Pete, I'm not meeting the kids at any point. I just don't want to even have a conversation with like. That's my biggest.
Little North, you don't want to talk to North?
I think the kids seem cool. The kids seem cool. These are cool kids. I have no problem with meeting North if I'm Pete. I don't want to have a conversation with Kanye about my experience meeting North when he comes to like pick North up for the weekend and I'm there. That's the shit that I would dread. Like, and that's the shit that I also hate.
Thought about this? You just really thought about this a lot, huh?
Well, I'm in the stage where like, I'm around the people with kids and I see the people that are doing the different kind of ways of parenting the kids. And there is nothing to me grosser than like stepdad, real dad animosity. That shit is so cringe and gross to me. I hate it. And I'm not saying Pete and Kanye would, but that other element of them being generationally different. And like in my mind, the older dad is going to be like, you need to talk to my kid this way. And I'm going to go, that's fucking stupid. Like people stopped talking to a kid like that 20 years ago. What are you talking about? So that's the shit that I would dread.
Yeah, he's parenting all of you.
So the next thing I got on here, after we got the Ben Simmons rumor of the week, and then let's go to our big thing at the end. So the rumor of the week for this week is the Celtics. Do you like that? Would that do it? Like, what would you be interested in him being there? Okay, Kiah, you're making a face. Let's start with you.
Listen, this Philly and Ben Simmons thing is so toxic. And I hate the word toxic. It's so overused in today's time, but like it's so bad. Clearly it's not working. He's okay losing $300 and something thousand for not playing in the game. Like, let me go stand in the corner. I'll sit on a bench for $300,000 right now. Like, it just hurts my soul to see it go so bad. Like, they just need to do something. Like, I don't know what, but it just got to stop. Like, I'm sick of hearing about it. I don't want to know how much money he's losing because I'm like, damn, I could have that. Or, like, our league could have that. I don't know. They got to figure it out. So he want to play Celtics and they want to trade. Go ahead, make it happen. I saw something for him for Jaylen Brown. I was like, whatever. It sounds good. Make it happen.
Just resolve it. Gotcha. Myke, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. Like, there's so many stories and so many like, rumors circulating that I'm kind of like not paying too much attention until he lands somewhere. Did I see that? Who was it? Was it the owner or someone said like, oh, guys, like everyone relax. Like this could go on for years. And I was like, years there. Yeah, he's actually talking about like, yeah, this tug of war between us and Ben could go on for years. And I'm like, how is that even possible? Number one, like they got to figure out some type of resolution here, get him out of there. Like this cannot go on for years. That's not good for the team. That's not good for the league. It's definitely not good for Ben. Like I just feel
It's
like they
not
got to
good for
come to
my
some
mental
sort of.
health at this point.
Yeah, like when we're watching that, it's like that's too ugly to watch. Like I can't be I can't be looking at that.
He's too talented to be in this situation. Like, yeah, okay, he doesn't want to shoot or he doesn't have a jump shot, whatever you want to say. Like, he's still a talent to the league, and like people want to watch him play. Like, he can help bring the league up. So this sucks. The whole thing just
It's
sucks.
wasteful, and 9 out of 10 teams would take him in some sort of fashion. I feel like Philly's going to lose in this situation because it's going to be like everyone knows Ben wants out. He's not going back to Philly. So it's like no one's gonna like pitch a ton to Philly. They're gonna be like, man, you got to get him off you anyway. So it's like, I think that's why they're kind of like holding on to him like that. They're not finding a situation where it's like, oh, this is even. But do I think they're gonna find a situation where it's even? Like, not at this point. Like, I don't think you're gonna get a Ben Simmons level player for Ben right now. And if you don't, you're just kind of holding on to him, and it hurts the team and it hurts Ben. So it's bad to watch.
I definitely agree with what both you are saying on that. I think this is the wave right now, the mental health in sports wave. And I think the 76ers as an organization are talking out of both sides of their mouth. Because on the one hand, they're saying, well, we're going to respect his mental health. And then for them to find him, I thought that was the first thing where I went, this is clearly wrong. Because if you're treating mental health like a real thing, then you would give the person ownership over fixing their own mental health. So to say that you're going to find him because he won't meet with your therapist, I thought that shit was really toxic. And that's the next place that we'll go with this conversation. We'll just talk about this weird non-conversation around what is acceptable mental health wise in sports, because the biggest sports story of this last week was the Robert Sarver, I guess, revelations. I guess it came out that he's said some really racist things. He said some really sexist things. He's put people in uncomfortable situations. And now there's a big conversation about basically, if you're in charge, how toxic can you make a workplace before you get fired from your own thing? So I guess let's start there. A lot like ESPN has done this thing of, oh, we can't believe this is happening. We're going to skip through all that. We're going to go straight to I guess let's start with, have you ever been, either of you ever been in a situation in a locker room where you felt like your personal line of what was acceptable was crossed? And Kiah, let's start with you.
Trying to think back even to high school, I don't really think so. I feel like excuse me. I feel like I've been pretty fortunate. Maybe like in some management, but for anything that trickled down to our team, I would have to say no. Like I think I've been pretty fortunate. I know there's been other teams like in our league where players have not felt that same way. I'm not really gonna put them on blast, but I know for me personally, I've been good. And
can you put a situation on blast? Can you say a thing that you heard about happening where you're like, oh, this is unacceptable, and if it happened to me, I would email somebody or whatever? Like, apparently the NBA and WNBA have anonymous hotlines you can call if there's internal organizational strife. And really any sports league should have that, because people should want to know about that stuff so they can fix it. Have you heard about a situation where you were like, oh, if that was me, I'd probably call an anonymous?
Well, because then it's like, then it's not like personally people. So, for example, I know from players on the team, they said the organization just doesn't want to sign like to ghetto of players. But it's like they never said it. But if you look at their track record, you're like, oh, it makes sense. Or like
and they're just basing that off of like style and how they talk. Like they're going, oh, you have this dialect, you're too ghetto. It's not like, oh, this behavior. It's like, oh, this is not that
like basically. Yeah, it's like dialect or like how you present yourself. But like, because I mean, there's people in the league like, yeah, you can, go party, do this or whatever. But like, if you do your job, that's all that they care about, right? But then there's other organizations that I've heard, like I said, I don't have actual concrete proof where it's just like, yeah, they tend to like stay away from these kinds of people based on this. And I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how true it is, but I've heard like a few things here and there. But like, fortunately for me, like we've been pretty good. Even I say for the most part, like, I've been pretty good.
And Mike, what about you? Have you had situations that you felt like crossed your personal line?
I haven't run into that in my career. Like Kiah said, like I've been pretty fortunate. Um, like physically, like when I was in JUCO, we used to be feeling like practice was a little bit overboard.
I
Um,
mean, yeah.
but like it made us like the best JUCO team in the country and this and that. So we kind of like we're like, oh, like it's a give and take. But like when it comes to like things like that are coming out in the news, like no, I haven't seen anything like that in any organization I've been a part of. I feel bad for the players and the people who work under owners or management like that because it puts you in a situation where you're kind of questioning like, man, if I say something like my job could be at risk. Like, should I just look the other way for this? And that that comes into any situation where someone's in a position of power, where that power can be abused and broken. And the people underneath them, they sometimes have a hard time speaking up. So that's a bad situation over there. And obviously, we're waiting to see what comes of that. I saw a statement put out by the team that kind of like said, yeah, like this has kind of been blown out of proportion, or like the sources weren't necessarily credible or true. And I was wondering about that as well. I saw that kind of directly after because I think Phoenix was playing like that night when that news came out. So I was like, man, I gotta like check their Twitters. Like they're gonna say something about this. And
It seemed
they had a little thing, and it kind of was like, oh, for right now, like we don't really we haven't found full evidence of this, so like we got to look into it. Was kind of the statement.
Yeah, I think that initial statement, I think it kind of came out that it was strategic because immediately after there was this very specific evidence, like these specific accounts that went to ESPN. The creepiest one I heard was Robert Sarver forcing people around the office to look at pictures of his wife in a bathing suit. Like that's fucking weird.
Ew.
And that's real. So this is where this conversation is going to go. Is like, where is the line for a boss to lose I guess an owner to lose the thing they own, or a boss to lose their job over being a creep, a weirdo. And I think it's really important that line gets established because you don't want people losing like there's such a gray area between weirdo and unacceptable weirdo, and that line really needs to get drawn because like there's weird people who you end up working with and you like, and that's, to me, that's like an interesting thing, is how all this stuff will translate to normal people's workplaces. Like I've been in so many situations where I've heard like whether it was a boss or even just like another person say something at an office where you're like, that shit's not okay. And I feel like if it's somebody on your level, you just go, oh, don't say that to me again. And that should be how it is in, like, if your boss says something to you, like a coach or whatever, you should be able to be like, don't talk to me like that. I'm a grown up. But that's another tricky thing, is like, I almost feel like in sports, the shit is more unacceptable the younger you go and the less power the athletes have. And, you can go to an
I mean, I know
AAU game.
for sure in college, like you can't really talk to the coach. I mean, well, at least our coaches have a super cool about it. Like if you had an issue with anything, you could like go and talk to them, and I'm sure they would try to make it work. At a pro level, definitely it's okay to talk to the coaching staff or anyone that's in management. But when you go to the higher ups, like the GMs and owner, it might be a little more tricky. At least I know the GM we had in Vegas, he's now going to Atlanta, but he was super cool. But I had known him since he was in New York. So like you could talk to him about anything. So it'll be different. But if you don't feel comfortable with whoever's like on the higher up, that's kind of like the issue. Like I said, college, nah. High school, I mean, I could have though, but it's different though because I was like the star. So like I could kind of talk about if something was wrong. I had no issue going to the AD or the principal of the school, but I don't know if everyone else had that same kind of
And that's the other weird
privilege.
thing with sports, right? Is you have stars and you have the other players, and that's another thing that the modern sports is going to have to navigate, because you can go as recently back as like whoever, the Kobe era, and there's stars that aren't treating their teammates like with much respect. But at the same time, there's also like agreed upon norms in sports. So it's not like all of that needs to be stamped out. Like I think there's a place for athletes being able to yell at each other on the court or the field if everybody's cool with it. But you know, it's almost like people need to communicate that shit ahead of time. The news story is in Portland. The GM is maybe going to get fired for verbal abuse. And that's an interesting one to me too, because like sexual harassment, racism, like those are so clear. But verbal abuse, it's just like he yelled at people a lot. And, you know, there's a lot of people that yell a lot. It's going to be a tricky thing.
Yeah, verbal abuse is hard because, well, at least from a coach to a player, there's going to be a lot of yelling. But like for me personally, as soon as it turns disrespectful, that's when I have an issue. Like you can cuss me out all day, like God damn it, make a fucking layup, da 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 da, get your ass back on defense. Like that is normal. Like that's normal. So I don't know any of the examples that they were saying that he was telling to people.
What's disrespectful to you? Like I've heard of people being like, especially if you have like a guy who makes a ton of money who might have been overpaid. I've heard of guys being like, oh, you're getting paid $20 million to suck. Like I've heard that kind of shit. And I feel like I would take that personal, but at the same time, I would be like, yeah, I'm getting paid $20 million and I'm the worst guy at this price mark. So do you feel like that's disrespectful, or where's your line for what's like disrespectful?
I think of it like arguing with your significant other. Like if you got a girlfriend, I feel like the biggest thing you can't say is to call her a bitch. Like to me, that's disrespectful. Like you bitch, da, da, da. Like I just feel like you can't say that because that's like that's you just can't do it. So I feel like in sports you just have your own personal line. Like if a coach is in my face screaming, I got a problem. Like you and I don't yoke me up, don't do none of that, don't get in my face screaming. You got an issue, like don't grab me. Like you got an issue, you can yell at me. Like if I'm running back on the defense or whatever, you can yell at me, that's fine. But like it's about what you say, the mannerisms. Clearly don't like touch me. As far as like actual words, like you can't call me a bitch. Like I don't like that. Especially a male coach calling me a bitch. Hell no. Nah. You not finna do that.
No chance.
I don't know. And there's just something you can't say like I don't want you to like bring like my family involved. Like I don't know. Like I feel like you know when you hear it.
There's a line, yeah. There's a line that's like unsaid, like like you know when you hear it. It's like that was too far. It's like you can scream all day and say like a lot of things, but when it gets like to a degrading point now, it's like it's a little further than basketball. Now it's like a personal like attack. It's like now you're kind of crossing the line. So I agree with that. Like I never had like a coach like go that far, but I feel like if one did, it would be easily recognizable. You know, like. And I feel like that line it probably does need to be more clear.
Yeah, I have an example. A coach. Okay, I'm not gonna say which team or where, so nobody gets
cool.
So it's okay. But I've had a teammate who has struggled with weight and was really big and now is smaller, and had a coach, get in their face talking about you're so effing fat, you need to get back to doing this. And this girl hearing that she's overweight or fat because she was big before and now she's slimmed down, hearing that is like a trigger for her. So then she like shuts down mentally. So like that I think is disrespectful. Like that's a trigger for her. So don't use that against her when she's actively trying or she's maintaining the weight that she plays great at. So stuff like that, like when it's a trigger, you can't say stuff like that. Like or like if let's say someone like recently passed and then you want to bring up that person, like coaches be doing some crazy,
that shit's
especially
weird.
overseas. Overseas coaches don't care. They don't care. So like I try to give them the benefit of the doubt because like maybe you're not, the same, you're not American, so you don't understand because they be wilding out. But like there's definitely some coaches over here that be like, what? He did what?
Nah, coaches are the last people, because when I heard about Robert Sarver and I heard about Neil O'Shea, who's a GM, you go, well, what's going to happen with coaches and especially like assistant coaches who have to do a lot of like the trench work and stuff, but also all of us were, grew up with Bobby Knight still being a coach, and there was a whole culture of like, you scream, like the coach takes out everything on the player and the player just takes it. And it seems like clearly there just needs to be checks and balances on that, where if anybody says anything to a player in an environment, like there needs to be safe protocol for like addressing that shit, firing anybody who's inappropriate and all that stuff. Do you think like the team dynamics make that murky? Like it's hard to call somebody out when they're theoretically under the same organization as you?
I think the like hierarchy makes it difficult. It's like, okay, like player to player is one thing, player to coach is kind of a different thing. Now you're getting into like management and front office people. That's a whole different thing, right? And I think that's recognized by the players. Like you really, everyone knows where they sit on their totem pole. So it's like that's recognized by the players, and I think that's also recognized from the people higher up. So it's like I think they do feel like they have a little bit of a longer leash or a longer rope on what they can say, what they could get away with, and what's acceptable. Like the owner could probably say a little bit more to a player than the coach could, and absolutely more than a player could. Right, because it's like I'm not gonna come to blows with the owner. Like me and the player might have an issue, and we could solve that. But like me and the owner have an issue. I think I'm gonna get fired. So it's like
that's the biggest thing, job security.
I think the power dynamic of it is what creates the like murkiness and like what is acceptable from one person to another. Like because if we were equals, would you say and behave the same? Like probably not. So I think that's where it becomes like questionable and murky.
Yeah, I think that the NBA and also other leagues like the NFL and baseball have a small or like a unspoken problem of owners just feeling entitled to interact with their players. Like if you think about it in terms of a company, like if you're the CEO of a company, you don't get to go into like a certain office and then go 0 to 60 on people you've never met before, or you don't interact with that regularly. And I mean, we mentioned the Colin Kaepernick documentary on Netflix. That's one of the subtexts of it is just the way that modern American sports descends from American slavery and some of the dynamics. I mean, when LeBron did the decision, all of the under the radar plantation aspects of American sports culture really got put at the forefront. Like people were like, he should stay in Cleveland. It's like, wait, so you think that people are obligated to live in one place because they play sports? Like, so I think that wave still hasn't fully hit people yet of just how much of a link there is there. So next week we can talk about the Kaepernick show. And I actually know a guy that did the music. I know the guy that did the music for it. He's a Emmy award-winning music guy.
Oh, great music choices in there for sure.
Yeah, let's. I should know. I don't know his name offhand. We've had a few conversations, but
and you don't know his name? That's crazy.
I know. If you knew how many conversations I have about just like when you're making stuff, like when you're making projects, if the amount of I'm very jealous of pro athletes because you guys just get to focus on one thing. You don't have to do. Now I got his name is Wendell Haynes. Shouting him.
You had to look it up.
I was looking it up. Oh, I was so transparent. I was like stalling while I looked it up. Yeah, no, I was looking it up. But shout out Wendell Haynes, Emmy award-winning composer for TV and film. Good guy. I like him.
Yes, I'll make sure to watch the series by next week. I got time now. We'll be traveling. So.
Well, this has been another episode of Unapologetic. I'm Will Poznan. You can find me on Instagram at Will Poznan. Kiah, let's go to you.
Instagram and Twitter, KStokes41.
And Myke?
Instagram, Myke Mulder 11.
And thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week.